So we are back. Week 8. So good to see you guys. Hope your group is amazing tonight. Tonight we jump right into the invitation. And we're inviting you and each other into something that Jesus invited us all into. He invited us into an assembly, a gathering, a Jesus gathering. He said he would build it, and he said it would outlast the Roman Empire, which seemed like a crazy thing to say 2,000 years ago, but none of us are in the Roman Empire today.
So imagine this. Jesus is talking with his disciples, and all of a sudden he turns and he asks them this question. Who do you think I am?
Sound familiar?
Right? And there's a bit of a back and forth, and all of a sudden Peter blurts out,
"You are the Messiah, the Son of the living God."
And Jesus is like, "Whoa, Peter, you're not that smart." You didn't come up with that on your own, but he says, "Now I say to you, you are Peter," which means rock, "and upon this rock I will build my church, and all the powers of hell will not conquer it."
Jesus promised to build his church. And when Jesus shared that with Peter and the disciples, Matthew was there. Years later, he wrote it down. And when he wrote down the word that Jesus used, he used a Greek word. It wasn't a religious word at all. It was a word called ecclesia. You can practice that together and sound really smart.
Ecclesia.
I know.
Small group is really what it means.
That's right. It's this assembly that comes together. Now, some challenges have happened throughout history, and the word got translated as church, which led everybody to believe in a building, a physical
because that's what the German
structure.
word Clark meant.
That's right. But when Matthew wrote it down, he chose a Greek word that implied or indicated something different than a facility. It was about an assembly.
He was talking about the people. And after last week, after the crucifixion, we saw this point that all of Jesus' followers absolutely lost faith. And why wouldn't they? Everything that they'd based their lives on for the last 3 years had just blown up on them. Jesus was dead. And obviously, Jesus claiming to be the Son of God was dependent on him still being here, yeah. Right?
So, Jesus said to his disciples after the resurrection, they're
because
all
the resurrection changed everything.
Yeah, they went from believers, non-believers on Friday, believers on Sunday. That's great. So they're standing together in an assembly. It's nice singing. I didn't know you could hit that note. They're standing together in an assembly, and Jesus says to them, Matthew 28:18, Jesus came and told his disciples, "I have been given all authority in heaven and on earth."
Now, if that's not true, it's awful arrogant.
That's a big, bold statement.
But the guy who'd been dead for 3 days was now alive. And if he can pretty well predict his death and resurrection, maybe we should go with what he says.
Seems credible. It seems credible now. It seems credible. Whatever he says now. The guy who said he's going to die and says he's going to live again and doesn't, follow that guy.
So he told him what he was going to do with all of that authority that now they had ascribed to him. He said, "Therefore, go and make disciples of all the nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit. Teach these new disciples to obey all the commands I've given you."
Yeah, and they're a bunch of outlaws. They got no money. They got no resources. They got no Facebook.
They got no time, love, tenderness.
Kind of stuff.
Wrong move.
Sounds like a song. They're standing there thinking, what are we going to do with this? How can we reach the world with these Jesus gatherings? And
they must have looked around and wondered, all nations?
Yeah, we're nobodies.
Us?
Yeah,
right? We could barely make it across town on time. And we're nobodies from nowhere. We've got nothing, no status. Oh, and Jesus said one more thing.
One more thing.
"And be sure of this, I am with you always, even to the end of the age."
Then he left.
Welcome to church.
That's right. That's pretty great. So what we want you to do right now is take a minute and talk in your groups about, one, what do you associate with the word church? What do you think of when you think of church?
And what about Jesus' final words in Matthew 28, verses 19 and 20? What about that surprises you?